give you the option.
Welcome, everybody. It's week 2 of the pre-snap, week 2 of the NFL. How's it going? I'm James. This is Chris. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy. Fantasy football is afoot again. Happy football to everybody. Getting ready to sit down for hours upon hours of straight football. I know I'm ready. Are you doing good today, James? A beautiful day for football. I wish I was playing football on a day like today.
I agree. It's here it's beautiful as well, and then I can't wait to see what's going on. I mean, you're gonna be hard pressed between sitting and watching football or wanting to go outside and play football. Maybe bring the TV outside so that you can watch while you're throwing the football around with the kids. That's what you should do.
That'll work. Just get one of those GoPro cameras here right in front of my face.
Then you get a football to the face and you're good to go.
Just like that Peyton Manning commercial. He's just beaming the kids in the back of the head, or the Saturday Night Live skit. That's what it was.
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
it's good stuff.
Oh, man. Well, we got a packed show for you guys today. Last week was our first show. We did really well. And this week we hope to have a lot more here. We're going to be answering
at left
ton of
guard.
questions.
Yes.
On my side, though, right? Not yours.
Love it.
So today, what's on the lineup? We're going to be going through some inactives, actives, and whatnot to get you guys up to date on what we've heard so far. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the games that we're excited for. We're also going to be going into our start and sits for the day, and then we are going to be answering. We also have over-unders, and we're going to be answering a bunch of questions for you guys. We're going to try to get you guys to win week 2. That's the goal here. So let's get right into it, Chris. Let's first talk about that Thursday nighter. How did you think of the Thursday nighter?
I mean, 2 great games on Thursday night. I wasn't expecting a lot out of Giants versus Washington, but the drama was there. The storylines were there. The missed catch by Slayton, the offside. It came down to pretty much the final play. As an NFC East fan, you probably liked the outcome of at least one of them losing. But probably hoping for a tie.
Nick and I tried to predict both losing on Tuesday, but it didn't come out so well. So
maybe a coronavirus outbreak would cause that, but that's about it.
I don't wish that upon anybody. So
yeah, all in all, exciting game. I'm excited for Saquon moving forward. Are there any other takes, like fantasy takes, that you took out of that game?
Yeah, Scary Terry is quarterback proof. Pretty much. You can use him anywhere and not worry like that. He was all over the field. It was fun to watch. I personally was not excited for this game coming in just because obviously I don't like either of the teams, but I sat there all night. I watched it, and I was right to the end. I was like, this
Can't
is
take
crazy.
It for granted. Yeah.
And it's funny because I started Slayton, so I was yelling at my TV on that non-touchdown because that would have given me a lot more points than I already had with him. And I've already traded for Barkley in one of my leagues. I think he's going to turn it up. The snap share started going higher. I think it'll go even more. He's going to have a big week 3. He's got 10 days off right now between his last game and his next. So I expect it to go a little bit more. And I think they're going to have to use him if they want to try and even win these games.
Which is what we predicted, right? A lot of the questions we were asked was, how are we dealing with Saquon? Am I drafting Saquon? And a lot of the advice that we gave was, hold him for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Let him get his feet under him. Let him get comfortable with his knee in game situations, because practice is one thing, but at game time, when someone's coming at you to take your head off, that's when you're really gonna test those injuries out. Yeah. So seeing him being able to break off that big run and not really worry and about anything about his knee was great to see. So I'm hyped for Saquon moving forward. He might have been able to buy him low after week 1. I don't think you're going to be able to buy him low now.
It'll be interesting. We'll have to see. But yeah, so for all those listening, we thank you for being here. Make sure that you like the stream and you subscribe to the channel. The more you guys do that, the more we can produce for you guys. And follow us on all our social media platforms. And let's get into our injuries, our inactives, and our actives for this week. So we had some big names that have already started on this. OBJ is sitting again. That's now week 2. I mean, he was looking so good in preseason, and now all of a sudden it's like, what's going on? This 2 weeks in a row. Are they being cautious? What are they doing with him?
Yeah, I think they're being cautious. They were happy with the way they were able to move the ball down the field without him against the Chiefs. It's not going to hurt. It hurts fantasy owners that he's out, but it's not going to hurt him personally that he's out. Schwartz filled in well in his absence. But I think it's more of just a precaution over something that's deeper.
Okay. The Ryan Fitzpatrick news, obviously, if you watched the Thursday Nighter, you know that he has been put on the IR, and now he's decided to opt for rehab rather than surgery, which will only give him an 8-week time frame for when he can come back. He's also hoping to come back and become the starter. But with the way Heinicke played on Thursday there, if he comes back, are you confident with going back to Fitzpatrick, or are you keeping what's going, or you still have to wait and see?
It's a Fitz tragedy, really. Poor guy. He gets into a situation where he knows he's going to be a starter for the year. Week 1 goes down, bad hip. I mean, he's probably 80 years old in football years, so it's kind of almost expected that his hip's going to go. But if Taylor Heinicke produces like he did on Thursday and can keep it up, I don't see why. I mean, if they got a winning record without Ryan Fitzpatrick and Heinicke's playing good enough to keep them in games, I don't see why you would bring Fitzpatrick in after an injury like that. It's unfortunate for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but if Heinicke keeps balling the way he's balling, why not keep him in, right?
And the team looks like they're behind him 100%. They all seem to be fluid with him. I think he's going to stay, and we'll see what happens. But it does suck. I mean, Fitzpatrick usually comes in for the injured or not so good quarterback, and now it's flipped. I feel bad for him. But we'll move on to my Cowboy news. DeMarcus Lawrence.
And that's enough of the Cowboy news. We can move on from here.
Suffered a broken foot. He's out for 8 weeks. They also have, I think it was 6 inactive starters from last week. What does this affect for the Cowboys defense? What are you thinking for the Chargers side now? Does this mean that are you taking the Chargers over the Cowboys, or you still have this close? I know we thought this would be a little closer and it would be a shootout, but are we worried now the defense is just not going to be there?
I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm excited for the matchup for fantasy purposes. I've loaded up on both teams in my DFS side, so I kind of like it. It's going to be something that I'm looking forward to. It's a game that I'm looking forward to watching just for fantasy purposes. Also on the Chargers side, Chris Harris is out. So that's going to open up a lot of the back end of the field for the Dallas Cowboy wide receivers. So what's your take on it, James? Are you a little nervous
I'm
that
worried.
I'm
worried
the Dallas
that
Cowboys
defense,
are falling apart early?
Yeah, I'm worried the defense is going to be
Parsons is moving to the edge as well.
I'm excited to see that, actually. But on the same side, I'm a little worried. I don't know what this defense is going to be. They did really well last week, but I mean, Tampa Bay also didn't play very well. That also played into it. And I mean, Herb looked good, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I expect Dak to throw again. I expect Herb to throw. I mean, the ball's going to be in the air a lot this game. Those receivers, get as many as you can, and we'll definitely go from there. But I switched to the Chargers in my spread pool just because I'm a little skeptical now with the defense losing so many players. I'm hoping Dak can lead them out and help them, but it's going to be a tough battle today. But it should be a fun game at least. So,
yeah, I'm excited for it. It's one of the games I'm excited for.
Yeah. In other injury news, last week we talked about Judy getting hurt, went on the IR. He's out. Ali, I think it's also 8 weeks on top of that as well. Something.
Yeah, I believe it's 6 to 8. I think we're looking more 8. He got away from having high ankle sprain, serious injury for sure, but it wasn't something like an Achilles or a broken ankle or anything like that. So it was good to see that it was just a high ankle sprain. I drafted him quite a bit, but is there a guy that you think's gonna shoot up the rankings with Jerry Judy's absence?
Everyone's talking about Noah Fant, saying that Noah Fant's going to be he could be a tight end there. The problem with Noah Fant, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later in my start sit. So he's there is they need to go to him a little bit more on the touchdown side. So if they can do that, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. He could be a top 5 tight end if through these 8 weeks, depending on what they do. He led them in targets, but like I said, I'll talk about that later. Tim Patrick, I like as well. He had a great year last year with them, and
Timmy P.
I think he's a sleeper that nobody really wants to have. But I mean, he was great last year when Cortland Sutton went down. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. And Teddy Bridgewater likes the underneath throws, so I think both guys could be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree, man.
In other news, Will Fuller is out after his suspension just finished. All of a sudden, there were reports that he is not playing week 2 for personal reasons. A lot of people are skeptical if he'll ever play again, I've been hearing. So there's something going on there. Have you heard anything on what the personal reasons are? I've yet to see anyone release anything. So
no, I haven't got any insight into what the personal issues are. Just know that they're personal issues. I was looking forward to him joining the Dolphins roster in week 2. It's unfortunate, but I hope all is well in the Will Fuller camp.
All right. And then we go on to our players that are active this week. So we got a good list of players here. So the Colts are confident that both Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell will play today. They've been injured pretty much for most of the week, and so they'll be in there. Both did not do very well in week 1. So that we'll look to that. I think we're going to talk a little bit about Pittman later, Chris. I think you have him on your list, one of your lists. Crowder was activated from COVID. They said he will be in the lineup. I don't know how much he's going to play on what snaps or whatnot, but he'll be a factor as well. Zach Ertz, who was injured last week, will play today. Peyton Barber is in for the injured Josh Jacobs. That one was
just
a big
missed
one.
that sit by a week, man.
That one was a big one. Josh Jacobs, I remember seeing, I think it was Sleeper that put this out, that the actual post said Josh Jacobs is out of practice, and it said beside him everything. I've never seen that before. So that definitely was an interesting tweet. And then all of a sudden he comes up on the list. He's not playing today. And Peyton Barber they said he's going to start in his place. So that one is an interesting one too, why they wouldn't go with Drake. What do you see there? Is Drake going to take over, or is Peyton Barber anything relevant today? Fantasy-wise?
I think Drake's going to have a more expanded role out of the two for fantasy purposes. I'm not comfortable starting Peyton Barber because I just don't know the usage that he's going to have. If he takes over Jacobs' role, then I think he might come in on the goal line situations. But other than that, I mean, other than the 2 TDs, Jacobs wasn't really that great. He 10 carries for 34 yards. He came in on the goal line for the TDs. So it's a big red flag to me that he's suffering these injuries early on in the season. So my outlook for Josh Jacobs moving forward is definitely not great. He's definitely a guy that I'm going to try to sell off.
He could have already had them in preseason for all we know, and they just kind of moved in.
Exactly. So. I mean, it's week 2 and he's already out dealing with injuries. It's not a good look.
I'd rather it now than later, but yes, that's
yeah, of course.
We'll see. And then 2 running backs that were on the scratch list last week, Trey Sermon and Zach Moss, both will be inserted in the lineup. What are your thoughts on that? I'm a little excited to see if Zach Moss goes back to that 1B situation with Singletary. I know Singletary did really well last week. Are they going to fit him in that way, or do you think he's just going to be the backup to Singletary?
For Moss, he's going to be the short yardage goal line back. So again, another guy that I'm not really going to trust at least this week. And then for Sermon, if Mostert didn't go down, does Sermon come back? I don't know. Mitchell played well last week, man. He did very good. Again, it was against the Detroit Lions, but still, the Detroit Lions, they get paid to come out and play on Sundays too, right? So I'm not too sure what they're gonna do with Trey Sermon. If there's a running back in that backfield that you are comfortable starting, James, between Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Zach Moss, or Devin Singletary, if you had to pick one, which is the one you're going with?
Elijah Mitchell.
Mitchell, yeah. I think I'm starting Elijah Mitchell out of the 4 as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the most, and he's the one that right now I could see of all of the ones we have that he'll get the most yardage, I think, by the end of the week. We don't know what Moss is going to do. I don't know. Is he going to be the 1B? Are they going to slot him over? Why was he a healthy scratch? There's so many questions, right? And even Sermon, same thing. So we'll see. I think we need a week to adjust that. Maybe that'll be different by next week. But right now, I think the only safe one is Mitchell there.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's our inactives and actives for today. If anything else pops up live, we'll let you guys know. Are you excited for any football games today, by the way? I know you're excited for all of them, but are there any key games that you want to point out today that we should be watching, aside from the New Orleans Saints, of course?
Well, I'm just going to get to this Doom Sports question here. Is Winston startable? I believe he's startable. My cohort here doesn't.
We'll talk about that a little bit
We're
later.
going to get to that a bit later. I'm not going to give the juice, but we're going to get to that a bit later as to the reasons why. Devonta or Jarvis Landry in my flex. Nick, I think I'm leaning towards Jarvis Landry in this situation for the Browns. With Beckham being out, I can see Jarvis going off for quite a bit over Devonta. Devonta's usage is still almost a 50-50 split, so I'm more comfortable leaning Jarvis Landry there in the flex. So
yeah, I like that as well. So
if you're going Winston or Carr, I think I'm leaning Winston over Carr.
Yeah, against Pittsburgh D, that D is really good. I think that's not a bad idea as well.
So again, guys, if you like what you're seeing, make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all the social platforms, ring the bell on YouTube. We accept super chats and super stickers. Everything is much appreciated. And again, go to your app store. I believe the link for the app is in the description. Head over to your app store, download the U Stadium app. Join the Fantasy Football Stadium, and you'll get access to us. You'll be able to ask your questions throughout the week. We're on there all the time. There's a big team of fantasy football guys that are on there to help you guys set your lineups, trade talk, and everything in between for fantasy football. So make sure you go download that U Stadium app, join the Fantasy Football Stadium, and let's win these trophies together. We all like winning. We all like trophies. And there's nothing better than when we help you guys out. So as for games that I'm looking forward to, Saints, of course, who dat, a division game against the Panthers. I am looking forward to the Chargers-Dallas Cowboys game. I think that's going to be a shootout. Another game, more so for a player, is the Pittsburgh game. Naji Harris played 100% of the offensive snaps last week. He wasn't that productive, so I'm hoping that if he gets the same usage, he can even get a little bit of a regression in usage, but still see a high percentage. I'm hoping that this is his coming out party, and Naji Harris absolutely rips. For you, James, same question. Is there a game that you're looking forward to, or is there a player or a certain amount of players, a stack per se, that you're looking forward to this Sunday?
It's got to be the KC Baltimore game Sunday night.
That's going to be a good one as well.
The game of the week that everybody's going to want to see, right? I'm curious to see Tennessee and Seattle, just to see if Tennessee can rebound and get those weapons going, because they didn't last week. That should be fun. And I'm also excited for Monday. I want to see if Green Bay turns it around and either destroys Detroit or loses a few kneecaps, because they played horrible last week. So I'm really curious to see what would happen there.
Yeah. I also just honorable mention here: Jets versus Patriots, the battle of two starting rookie QBs. One was a second overall pick, and one was I think the 11th or 13th pick that they picked Jones. It was around there, right? Top 15 pick. So I'm excited for that game as well. So let's get ready for some football, man. I'm hyped.
I'm
hyped for football.
Before we go into our start sits, I got a quick question for you, okay?
Yeah.
Which 0-1 team needs to win the most this week? Between the Bills, the Browns, the Ravens, the Titans, the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Packers. Who needs this win the most? And I'm asking you because there's only been 3 teams out of 250 times to start the season 0-2 to win a Super Bowl. Those 3 are the 93 Cowboys, the 2001 Pats, and the 2007 Giants. No other team has ever done that aside from those 3. So of these 3 big dogs that everyone's projecting, some bigger than others, who needs the win the most this week? Because they can't go down 0-2.
I'm going to say the Browns here. As much as I want to say the Bills, I still think the Bills can put something together to string off a bunch of wins. But for me, if the Cleveland Browns fall 0-2 in that division, it could spell disaster. So for me, it's the Browns. What about you?
I think it's the Ravens. I think
The Ravens?
It's such a losing so hard to like that. It was a heartbreaker last week.
It was a hard, yeah, especially a game they
lose.
probably should have won.
And now you're in KC, and KC, like if you lose to KC now, I think it just demoralizes this team a little bit. And it's like, okay, and that's a big hole to come out of. They can, but I think it's gonna hurt a lot if they can't get that going.
Yeah.
We got a question there. Start 3.5 PPR Iuke, Antonio Brown, A-Rob, Lockett, or Ridley. Wow, those are some nice wide receivers to have.
Yeah, jeez. But he's rich.
I
mean, Iuke was such a disappointment last week. The news that we've heard coming out of practice was that he's suffering with injuries. He got a case of the drops. So I think he's a guy that I would bench at least for this week. I'll pick one, then you pick one, then we can decide on the third.
Go ahead.
I'm going to start Antonio Brown.
I knew you were going there.
Yeah, so Antonio Brown is going to be one of my picks out of that group there. What do you got?
I'm going to go on a rebound game with A-Rob. I think they're going to pepper him this week, and they're going to plan a little better than last week. They're also not facing the Rams, so that should help as well, and I think he'll have a good game.
And then Lockett or Ridley. Lockett's a good pick. I know you weren't high on him coming into the season, but Eskridge is out.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Lockett here over Ridley just because the defense that they're facing is a little bit less timid.
Stout.
Yeah, I think I'd go Lockett. I think I'm going Brown, A-Rob,
Ridley's so hard to say no to, man.
I know.
So, but if we have to give him an answer here, so Antonio Brown, Allen Robinson. And
you want to go Ridley? Right. You want to go Ridley?
I'd go Ridley, man.
It's a tough call between those two.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Who should I start in my flex from Eduardo? Woods, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, or Jamar Chase? Another good question. Yeah. I think I'm taking out Mitchell, and I'm stuck between Chase and Woods here.
I like Woods. I think I would go Woods. I think he's going to get the ball a little bit more. Chase, he did well last week, but I don't know. I don't know if that was. I want to see a little bit more. I think it was only 4. Was it 4 or 5 catches? It wasn't as many, so he did eat up a lot of yards after too. So, but
his route running is just so nice, man.
I know.
So crisp.
5 catches, 105 and a TD. So yeah, he was. I think I'm
Juju or Christian Kirk. I'm gonna go Juju.
Me too. I like Juju as well.
Hines or Drake, Ricky Blaze. I'm going to go Kenyon Drake with the absence of Josh Jacobs.
I will as well.
Yep. Travis, Cup, Hunt, or Antonio Brown.
Ooh, I like
PPR.
I still like Cup and that offense. I don't know. They seem to be between Woods and Cup. I still think they're both going to have big days. I like Cup here. Antonio Brown's a sneaky one too, but I think I like Cup.
I'm going to go Cup here. Yep. Perfect.
All right. Let's
get into these start sits, buddy.
Yes, sir. All right. The first start sit we're going with is going to be I'm starting Noah Fant. You're starting Chris Carson.
Yes, sir.
All right. So like I talked about earlier, I like Noah Fant, especially with the injury that just came up to Jerry Judy. Yep. Last week, Noah Fant led the team in targets. He caught 6 balls for 62 yards. He was a tight end that many were keeping an eye on when Teddy Bridgewater had already won the starting job in training camp. So this only propels him a little bit more. And Teddy Bridgewater likes to throw the underneath ball. So I project that he will be throwing a little bit more to Noah Fant now. Facing the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's also a team that I'm not too scared of. Last week, the Jags gave up 4 receptions, 67 yards to tight end Pharaoh Brown. I don't know if any of you even know who that is and or drafted him, but just imagine if that guy got that, what Noah Fant can do. So I like the matchup this week. I definitely want him to start. I'm projecting him 6 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a fantastic fantastic day.
Nice.
John, hey guys, debating Komet over Tanyan after his big target share last week, both in good matchups. I'm gonna go Komet here over Tanyan. I wasn't happy with Tanyan's usage, so I'm okay with starting Komet until I need to see a little bit more out of Tanyan.
I like Komet. I had him in a few leagues, and he looked really good out there. I was afraid of Jimmy G being a problem, but it wasn't. So,
yep. Okay, on to my start of the week. Running back Chris Carson versus the Tennessee Titans. The injury to Rashad Penny only secures his spot as the lone rushing threat in the Seahawks backfield. He saw a 77% snap share last week, which will rise a little bit with that injury to Penny. His week 1 stats, 16 rushes, 91 yards. He brought in all 3 of his targets for 26 yards. He did have a fumble, which kind of hurt a little bit of his fantasy output, but he could have easily counteracted that with the TD. Although he did only see the 3 targets in the passing game, he ran 17 routes versus the Colts. So his opportunity to be involved more in the passing game is there. Again, I could see more of an uptick in routes run, more of an uptick of his inclusion in the passing game. A touchdown makes him an RB1 last week. If he's getting that versus a Cardinals team versus a Titans team that let the Cardinals put up a combined 116 rushing yards against them in week 1, I could see my projection for Chris Carson this week: 18 carries, 85 yards, a TD, plus 4 receptions and 35 yards through the air. Good enough for 20.5 half PPR points. Fire him up.
I like it. James, wait on that question because our next sit and start happens to be Jameis Winston and Zack Wilson. I am saying to sit Jameis Winston, and Chris is saying to sit Zack Wilson. So let's get into that, and that'll hopefully answer some of your questions there. If I had to tell you last week, there was a game between the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints, and one quarterback was going to throw for 5 touchdowns, and the other quarterback was going to throw for 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. Who would you say it was going to be?
I would say it's Winston, 100%.
Never would you say that. But that is exactly what happened. Jameis Winston threw for 148 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 INTs. He also rushed 6 times for 37 yards. He was one of our top waiver wire ads of the week. Yep. So, and yes, I am now saying to sit him. I know all this information is there. I get it. I also picked him up because I want to see a little bit more out of him before I don him as a must start every week. And here are some reasons why I'm a little skeptical and I just want to see some more. So, he only threw for 148 yards last week. Yes, I get it. That's all that he needed to throw for because of how bad Green Bay was. I understand that. He could have probably thrown for more. And I'm surprised they didn't with how bad they were. The problem with New Orleans is they still lack the wide receiver power. The options that he has until Michael Thomas gets there aren't very good. And Green Bay was so bad that anybody looked good last week. Sean Payton still likes to use Taysom Hill in goal line situations, which is driving me crazy. Where Taysom Hill had 2 chances to throw the ball for touchdowns. It didn't happen, and Winston came in and then threw them for touchdowns. But the fact that he's still using Hill kind of makes me a little bit iffy. On top of that, Winston was only pressured 20% of the time on Sunday versus Green Bay. Carolina brought over 40% of the pressure versus the Jets. Yes, it's the Jets. They're not the greatest. I totally understand. But I assume that will move up the scale and it will be more than the 20% that he got. So with all of these things in mind, I also see a little bit of a decrease in the 5 touchdowns. I do not see him throwing 5 touchdowns.
Well,
this
yeah,
week.
of course. That's cheating.
I do see an uptick in his yardage, but I see a decrease in the TD. So I think for all these reasons, he's not a start for a 1 QB league. If you're in a super flex or you're in a 2 QB league, by all means, I think you could start him as your second QB and be fine. But in a 1 QB league, I just have so many other QBs ahead of him. My projection for him this week: 235 yards and 1.5 TDs with an interception.
Oh, I hate it, James. I hate that you did this to me, man. I hate that
I
you put this guy on the
I
sit
just don't want
list.
people to just get the impression that you can start him over so many other guys. I mean, if you're in a 12-man league, are you saying he's one of the top 12 quarterbacks this week?
I'm saying that he could finish as one of the top 12 quarterbacks. I don't know. He might finish at the top 15. I don't know if it warrants a complete sit. So for the question there, would you start Tannehill with the week that he had last week, or would you start Jameis Winston with the week that he had? Which one are you more comfortable starting?
I'm starting Tannehill.
Over Winston.
I still have Tannehill as a top 10 quarterback for end of season. And throughout this week, I was looking at it. He still has the better options. He's got Julio. He's got AJ Brown.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt with that.
You know,
but for me, like the whole Taysom thing, man, Taysom's broken. He's a broken toy.
But they're still using him.
They're using him, but they only used him twice on the goal line in the red zone last week. They only used him twice, and he got stuffed on the goal line.
But he could have took touchdowns away from Winston. Had he got in, Winston wouldn't have got the points.
But now we're talking about had he got in, but he didn't get in.
But the fact that he was there gives him the chance. The fact that they still used him, the fact that they put him out there, like there's still that chance, Chris.
No, Taysom Hill's broken. He knows it. He knows that he'll always be a gadget guy. He's not going to be the full-time starter. I think it's a little bit in his subconscious that he knows that Jameis Winston's the better guy. Yes, he's going to have a limited role, but it's not going to be the capacity that's going to really affect Jameis Winston. I mean, I get why you're saying sit him. I don't necessarily agree with it. Maybe I'm just a little biased, but, you know, it is what it is. I can't wait to message you and tell you how wrong you are on that one, buddy.
We'll find out after this week, but I don't think so.
Yeah, Blade PT says Goff or Matt Ryan. I'm going to go Goff here. I like what I saw versus the San Francisco 49ers. Granted, it was a lot of fantasy points when the 49ers were already up by a bunch. I can kind of see the same situation happening in the Green Bay game, where Green Bay goes up a lot and then Goff is just playing catch up. So the opportunity for garbage time fantasy points is there for Goff. I like Goff over Matt Ryan this week at least. James, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think Tampa Bay's defense is a lot worse than Green Bay's. So I think that's also going to play in fact. And I think Matt Ryan's also going to have another dud this week too. I don't think he'll be I think Goff will finish higher than him. So I agree with it.
Okay, on to the sit of Zack Wilson. He lost Mekhi Becton to a dislocated kneecap. That's a big out for him. Becton is an absolute machine. They gave up 6 sacks last week with Mekhi Becton in the lineup. Patriots are 21-6 versus the rookie quarterbacks since Bill Belichick came over to New England. Now, it's a little bit of a misleading stat. They're 13-0 at home, but only 8-6. Their 6 losses to rookie quarterbacks came against rookies in away games. So it's a little bit of a misleading stat there, but I don't like Wilson versus the New England Patriots this week. Since 2018, rookie quarterbacks versus the New England Patriots have only averaged 10.89 fantasy points per game. He does have Crowder returning. Some of the highlights, like I was big on Zack Wilson coming into the season. Some of the highlights from last week, Wilson had 20 plus yard completions in week 1. The Jets last season, James, can you guess how many 20 plus yard completions they had last season?
Oh, easy. 0.
0. Yeah, exactly. So the positive outlook for Zack Wilson is there. He could do some damage, but I just think the things that he's going to see versus the Patriots, he's never seen before in a football game. They're going to be trying to confuse him. They're going to be throwing all different kinds of sets at him, pressures. Again, the offensive line is hurting, so I just don't see him having that big of a day. The Jets are 3rd in most pressures against the QB so far this season. The Patriots held Tua to 202 yards and a TD in their week 1 matchup. My week 2 projections for Zack Wilson this week: 230 yards, 1 TD. If I got to pick, if I got to give you guys 3 guys that I would start over Zack Wilson this week, it's the guy he's playing against, Mac Jones. Trevor Lawrence and Derek Carr, I'm comfortable starting over Zack Wilson this week.
I like them all. All right, let's move on to our next one. So we're doing a start. You're going to start Jarvis Landry, and I'm going to start Mike Williams. I've seen Landry a few times in the messages here. Why don't you start with Landry? Why are you starting him?
Yeah, I'm comfortable starting Jarvis Landry. Let's face it, with or without OBJ, Landry is the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. Last week versus the Chiefs, he brought in all 5 of his targets for 71 yards. The Tennessee Titans defense isn't the greatest. We talked about it a lot coming into the season. We don't think they're going to be the Tennessee Titan defense of old. They got a lot of holes in the backfield there. He saw an 85% snap share, which is great. That's a high output, the highest output for the team. He's Baker's trusted target who plays all over the field. Now he gets to play the Titans team that just gave up 332 big passing yards last week. He's averaging 3.88 fantasy points per target. I'm expecting Jarvis Landry to be included in the passing game early and often. He's 5th in the league in yak yards with 55. I get it's only week 1. It's a small sample size, but he's a guy that when he catches the ball, he's not going to go down right away. He's going to try to get those extra yards. He's a big play machine. The big play abilities are there. My week 2 projections for Jarvis Landry this week: 6 receptions, 75 yards, a TD, good enough for 16.5 half-point PPR points for week 2. So fire up Jarvis Landry against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I like it. I think a lot of people think that because of Baker not throwing too much and OBJ and all these other things. I mean, Jarvis has been good for year in, year out. I mean, he's always been a good starter. So I'm starting Mike Williams against my Cowboys. I hate to say it, but last week versus the Washington football team, Williams saw a career-high 12 targets. He was second to only Keenan Allen, who had 13. He had 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, good for 19.2 fantasy points. Many had, including myself, had Mike Williams as a sleeper coming into the season. I know this is probably the 3rd season in a row we've had him as a sleeper coming into the season, but
he's got to hit at some point, right?
That's what I'm saying, eventually, right? So he's looking like he's finally on pace to do that. Yes, it's only 1 week, but as of right now, he's on pace to be the sleeper that everyone's projecting him to be. He's playing a Dallas secondary, like we talked about before. Didn't look too great versus stopping Tom Brady last week in the Bucs. Godwin, Gronk, AB, and even Evans, they all looked like they were open many times throughout that game. Godwin had a few drops deep, or it could have been even more costly for the Cowboys. So I'm liking the start. We've already talked about this is going to be a high-scoring game. We think that both sides are going to throw the ball a lot. I think Mike Williams is going to be a factor. I've got him 6 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown today. So definitely fire him up and go with it.
Yeah, Mike Williams, though, man, he's always that guy that you think he's gonna, you project him to go off, and then he just rips your heart out. But I like him. I like him versus the Cowboys this week. I really do.
Let's hope this is not a rip your heart out week. Okay, although as a Cowboy fan, I mean, if I'm wrong on this one, I'm okay with that. So, all right, let's move on to number 4. We've got Michael Pittman and James Robinson. We're saying to sit these guys. And I'll start with this one. Last week, he was our start of the week. We had James Robinson being the guy that was like, yeah, you got to start him. You got to use him. He's going to be amazing. He was number 7 in fantasy last year. And boy, did I get that start wrong. And because I forgot to factor in the fact that his coach is a college coach, and whenever a college coach comes to the NFL, it just ruins everything that you think is normal, and they don't know what normal is apparently. So I think if there isn't a rule, we should make one that if you have a college coach, you definitely should strategically plan your starts and sits a little bit better, because you have no idea what's going to come out of them. So last week, J-Rob was the starter, didn't finish with the most rushes on his team. He was second behind Carlos Hyde. Hyde had 9, and James Robinson had 5. James Robinson finished with 5 carries, 25 yards, 3 catches for 29 yards. And this was a guy who was used last year in the offense on over 90% of the offensive plays. And this game did not show any of that. I have no idea what's going on with this team right now and what they're going to do with the running back field. He was only on 8 offensive snaps, which was also second to Hyde. So is Hyde the real starter and we don't know about it? Is he hurt? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I can't project what he's going to do and exactly see how this is. So my week 10 projections right now is 10 rushes, 43.5 yards, 0 TDs. I'm saying sit him until we see some more.
Yeah, it was disappointing, that's for sure, man. But my sit here, Michael Pittman. I was expecting big things. I think it was another one of our starts last week as well. Both these guys were right. So
oh, man.
He did see a good amount of the snap share. He saw 97% of the snaps, which is great. He led the team, but his target share was only 11%. He saw 4 targets, 3 of which he caught for only 29 yards. In half-point PPR formats, he scored 4.4 points versus Seattle, which had Zach Pascal being the top Colts fantasy wide receiver. That with the fact that they're having some healthy other wide receivers coming back in the fold. Some concerning things that we saw coming out of the week was that he was dealing with an ankle injury through practice. He was limited up through Friday. He saw 0 red zone looks in the week 1 game. So that's concerning for me, considering the amount of snaps that he did see. He is playing a Rams team. One of the big reasons why I'm sitting Michael Pittman is that he is playing a Rams team that didn't allow a wide receiver over 50 yards last week versus the Bears. I'm not expecting big things out of Michael Pittman again this week, finishing outside the top 30 wide receivers. My projection, 4 catches, 45 yards. I'm starting Marv Jones Jr., Robbie Anderson, and even Devonta Parker over Michael Pittman this week.
Nice. You know what? We got a few more start sits, but before we get there, Splash, why don't you throw up a few questions? Let's answer, 5 of them, and then we'll get into the next start sits.
Doom Sports, Henderson or Waddle? Also, what's the story with Brandon Iuke? I mean, I wish I could tell you the story of Brandon Iuke. Us, along with so many other people, were so high on him coming into the year. But man, 0 points, not even a target last week. It was devastating as a fantasy owner.
I saw injury news that he said it was his hamstring or something, and then they're saying, well, when he comes back, he'll be able to go. He'll be in a limited role, and then get back to
they're
normal.
saying he's just not playing good enough.
So many
He's got
different
the case
things
of
out
the
there.
drops. There's a bunch, man. He's a guy that I'm probably staying away from this week. As for Henderson or Waddle, James, I'll let you take the floor on this one, buddy.
I like my running backs. I'm going to go Henderson. I think he did well last week. And if you can slot a running back into your flex position, I definitely like to go by it. So especially if he gets some catches for you too. So,
yep, I agree with that.
All right. PPR. So we got Ned Gabe. We got PPR Gaskin or Gordon. Pick 3. Debo, Cooks, Deontay, Cooper, Godwin. So it's a 2-parter here. So I'll answer the first one. You answer the second. How's that go?
Gotcha.
So PPR, Gaskin or Gordon. I like Gaskin. I think Mel Gordon's going to lose a little bit to Javonte this week. I think he's going to stay. He was already 50-50 last week. And if it wasn't for, I think it was a 50 or 70-yard run that he had, I definitely wouldn't have seen a little bit better from Deontay. So I'm going to go Gaskin this week. You can go ahead and answer the next one.
Yeah, pick 3. I'm going to go Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper, and Cooks. Cooks had a good game, man. He was used a lot. I like the fact that Tyrod can move the ball downfield. Yeah. But
there's some good options, man.
I still don't trust the Texans. I'm going to go Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper, and Chris Godwin.
I like it. I would have done that too. All right. Craps teacher, we got, how is the 0 RB strategy working so far?
I mean, if you were aggressive with it, it hasn't been too bad. If you're the guy that drafts JD McKissick per se, if
you went off on Thursday.
Yeah, if you were aggressive, like the thing with the 0 RB strategy is your fab, like don't try to stretch out your fab money. Pound the waivers early. Get those like Elijah Mitchell. Get the guys early, man. You're gonna wanna be aggressive early. If you're not aggressive early, it's not gonna work. You can't wait for those guys to eventually fall on your lap. You have to go out there. You got the stud wide receivers already. You most likely got a stud quarterback. You got a stud tight end. Get out there, hammer the waivers. so far. I don't think in week one it was that great, but moving forward, it's really going to pan out for you with the fact that these RBs, they just don't last, man.
There's
and just put a waiver wire claim on any San Francisco
backups. That's going to be another rule we put in there. Any San Fran running back, just put
even
on
like
your team
a guy like Jamal Williams, man. Jamal Williams is a 0 RB target. He was for me at least, and he put up 20 yards.
I heard in Detroit they're worried about who's going to start wide receiver because they're losing wide receivers too. Terrell Williams is not playing this week. They're not sure about the rest. I mean, you could see Swift, Hawkinson, and Jamal Williams lead the team in receptions again this week. It could be crazy. So your thoughts on Kyle Pitts? I said it from the get-go. I thought he wasn't going to be a top 3 tight end at the beginning. I didn't see too much from the Matt Ryan side. I think it's more that than anything else. I mean, if you can get this guy open and get him the ball, I think he can catch it. He's got the ability and whatnot. I think we just need to see a little bit more out of it. They may be game planning for that on purpose, but the whole Atlanta team wasn't very good to really give you an indication of is Kyle Pitts a bust or not as of right now, at least in my eyes. I think we need to see a little bit more from there before we can fully call that.
Yeah, I think he lined up at wide receiver more than he did tight end. So that's promising. The fact that you can put a wide receiver in your tight end spot and go from there, I mean, you're laughing, right?
All right. Our last question before we get back in from Fame Tiger. Hey, pick one for flex in PPR format: Godwin, CEH, Corey Davis, Robbie Anderson, Chenault, Damien Harris, or Deebo Samuel. Did you just name off your whole team there? Jeez. Okay. Wow.
Pick one.
Pick one. Do you want us to pick one each? Do you want us to?
If I'm going to pick one out of this list, I'm going Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin versus the Falcons is such a juicy matchup.
He's my favorite of all of them. Although Deebo had a good week last week too, but
Deebo did have a good week.
Yeah, I think I go Chris Godwin as well. I think he's going to have another good week against that Atlanta secondary. Corey Davis was good last week too. I mean, if you could start a few of these guys, I mean, I definitely like to see what the rest of the team is. But yeah, so we're going to finish our start sits here. We got 2 more, and then we'll get into more of your questions. So the next one is Damien Harris and Daryl Henderson start. Both those questions just came up. We did mention a few of them. Chris, you want to start with Daryl Henderson?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting Daryl Henderson versus the Colts this week. In week 1 versus the Bears, Big D handled all but 1 carry. He caught his lone target for 17 yards and also added 1 rushing TD. Now he's facing a Colts team that let the Seattle Seahawks RBs gain over 100 yards combined. Sony Michel, I still think is going to be a non-factor this week. He's still not up to par on the LA Rams playbook. So, Daryl Henderson is the guy that we saw. He was running violent last week. I liked what I saw. I wasn't too high on him coming into week 1 because he was drafted to be a change of pace back. But I loved everything that I saw. His usage was great. The fact that he's going to have a positive game script almost every week with the way the Rams play. He had 5 red zone touches, 2 on the goal line. He ran 16 routes, so that's always a positive, especially when Stafford is back as QB. He's going to be looking for that running back when all his other reads fail. My projections for him this week: 18 rushes, 90 yards, a touchdown, 3 receptions for 35 yards. Good enough again for 20.5 fantasy points in half-point PPR formats.
I like it. I thought he did really well last week. I definitely have him in any lineups I have him with as well. So, all right. Mine is Damien Harris. Last week, he rushed for 23 times for 100 yards. He was in on 53% of the offensive snaps. He also had 2 receptions for 17 yards. So he did really well in his first game. We all know
fumble though, man.
I'll get to that. We all know that New England likes to have a run first offense, and they're showing that. Yes, he did have a fumble late in the game, which cost them, which brought reports that he may lose some snaps this week to Stevenson, and or if they bring in JJ Taylor, I believe is his last
Stevenson
name.
Is actually inactive today.
So they switched it. So and the reason apparently was that Stevenson also fumbled the ball early in the game, and as a rookie, Belichick doesn't like that, so that also cost him as well. So I still think Harris is going to be fine even with the fumble. I don't think there's going to be any repercussions on it. He's their lead guy. They're going to use him. New England is taking on the Jets, who gave up 98 rushing yards to CMC and 89 receiving yards on 9 catches too. So I think James White also going to have a good game this week. My projections are 17 rushes, 92.5 yards, 2 touchdowns from Harris this week.
Yep. Let's get into the next one, buddy.
Let's finish our last one here. So our last is a sit. We're sitting Mike Davis and Mark Ingram, both running backs. I'll start off with Mark Ingram. He's facing the Cleveland Browns this week. He was also a top priority, waiver priority last week for a lot of teams, right underneath Mitchell. He had 26 rushes for 85 yards and a touchdown last week. No one expected any of the Houston running backs to be good, and let alone all 3 of them scored a touchdown last week. Did you know that, Chris?
Yeah, I did know that.
All 3 of them. Oh, that was crazy. Ingram's usage was game scripted, so they were winning. They needed to use him to chew the clock down. That's why he got those 26 carries. I don't think they're going to be winning against Cleveland at all in this game. Maybe at the start if they get the ball first, but that's it. And they held Clyde Edwards-Helaire last week to 43 yards on 14 rushes. I don't see very big things out of this running back group. Houston is not going to be winning this game, so I would definitely stay away from him. Keep him on your bench because you did pick him up in waivers to see what they do. But
I see a lot of carries, yeah.
Yeah, I'm projecting 10 rushes, 42.5 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, on to Mike Davis. I mean, I beat this drum so hard preseason, coming into the season, that Mike Davis just wasn't going to be the guy that he was in Carolina. He's bad because his team is so bad. They aren't going to be in enough games to make Mike Davis nothing more than a TD-dependent RB3 to RB4. That with the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just absolutely shut down the run game. I am not comfortable starting Mike Davis this week and probably moving forward. Last week, 15 rushes, 49 yards, 3 receptions, 23 yards. The Falcons ran 26 times last week, which is not a great number. The last time the Bucs, only one time they had a 100-yard rusher, which was last year, which Dalvin Cook, and Mike Davis just isn't Dalvin Cook. My week 2 projections for Mike Davis this week: 12 carries, 50 yards, 4 catches, 30 yards around that spot. I'm starting James Robinson over him. I'm starting Myles Gaskin, and I'm starting Kenyon Drake over Mike Davis.
Nice. Well, those are our start sits. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Now let's answer some questions, Chris. That's what we're here for. We want to get in there. So we're going to be bringing up the U Stadium app where we asked guys yesterday to start putting their questions in, and we told you we'd be getting to them. So let's start. Now, Nick asked Javonte. Nick Span asked Devonta or Jarvis in my flex. I believe did we answer this one already?
Yeah, we answered. Yeah,
it was Jarvis, right? Yeah. Okay.
Jarvis.
What do we got here? I'm trying to read the name there. Unfortunately, I can't see the name there.
Zoom in a bit there for a splash.
Can you zoom in? There you go.
So Noah Feinberg, Mike Williams, or Jamal Williams for the flex. For me this week, at least, I'm going Mike Williams. I think he'll have a safer floor over Jamal, even though I'm excited for what Jamal can do. I'm going Mike Williams.
I like them both. Yeah, I agree with Mike Williams, though. We got Colin _Jets 1, Cortland Sutton or Mike Evans at wide receiver 2. Cortland Sutton should have an uptick, obviously with the Jerry Judy news that happened. But I think Mike Evans is due for the week to have a breakout, as he didn't have too much of one last week. So I think it's Mike Evans' turn in Tampa. I'm going to say Mike Evans this week.
Yep. Skull Quest, Flex, PPR, James White, Kenyon Drake, Cortland Sutton, or Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Out of the 4, I'm going to go Cortland Sutton on this one. Although I do think James White and Kenyon Drake are going to have productive days. I think Cortland Sutton is going to be the most productive out of the 4 and out of the 3 between James White, Kenyon Drake, and Cortland Sutton. So give me Cortland Sutton there.
I like it. I want to scroll up there. I think these are just some there. All right. This is a 3-parter. So you're covering the question there, Splash. Can you just bring it down a little bit? Thank you. J Farrell _77. So we got different questions. I'll answer the first one. Chris, you get the second one. Mike Sanders or DeAndre Swift? Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to lean DeAndre Swift because I think that they are going to be throwing to him a lot. They don't have many wide receivers. He had a really good game last week, and I think that the garbage time and everything, he'll be there as well again.
Standard league, though, it says. So standard scoring league. You're still starting DeAndre without the PPR scoring?
Yes,
Yeah.
I still think he's going to get more opportunity than Sanders will in their game.
Again, guys, this is the U Stadium app. This is where you're going to go get the access to us before everybody else. Put in your questions there. Throughout the week, we're answering the questions for you guys. So this is what it looks like. This beautiful piece of work as the U Stadium app.
It's free. You
all
guys can just
sports.
download it, and
Exactly.
they got so many different
NFL,
areas.
your favorite teams, fantasy football. So back to the question for J Farrell _77. Corey Davis or Jarvis Landry. This week, I'm starting Jarvis Landry over Corey Davis, just based on the matchup.
Cool. All right, let's scroll down. What do we got here? Charles, Goddard or Jared Cook at tight end?
That's a good question.
Both had really good games last week. I like both. Ertz was supposed to be out. Now he's playing, so that may draw a little bit out of Goddard. I think I'm going to lean Jared Cook.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that way.
Cortland Sutton, Bryce Yates, 14. Cortland Sutton or Devonta Smith? I'm going to go Devonta Smith here. It's a game that I'm not too excited about, but I think Devonta Smith is going to be good for at least a TD and 60 yards. The connection that he has with Hurts, it showed last week. Cortland Sutton, again, should have a good day against the Jags, but I think I'm more comfortable starting Devonta Smith in this situation.
Nice. Yeah, I think so too. Jesse Rebo 1, Deontay Johnson or Robert Woods, wide receiver 2, full PPR. I gotta go Deontay. I think
especially full PPR.
Yeah, Big Ben at home is a lot better, and I think they're gonna throw to him as well. So
this next one's an interesting one. Bryce Yates 14 again. Elijah Mitchell or Tyson Williams. This could be a make or break.
It was just announced this morning that the Ravens are going to use the hot hand between their running backs.
So that makes me want to go now. I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell here. The Ravens did bring up Freeman. I don't know how much of a role he's going to have, but with that hot hand news, I don't like that. So I know the 49ers brought up Sermon. I know they still got Hasty, but Mitchell was electric last week. Give me Elijah Mitchell.
All right. Mice here, we have Edmonds or Drake, PPR flex. Oh, I still think I like Edmonds. I think that the Arizona team looked really good last week. I think they'll use him, and I think he'll be good for you this week.
Fair enough. Zalifar, Iuke worth the start this week. I mean, if you don't have a better option, you put him in there just based on what he can do in the passing game. You know what he's capable of. But, I mean, if you got a guy like maybe Jacoby Myers sitting there facing the Jets, I mean, I think I might start Jacoby Myers over Iuke at least for this week, just based on the news that came out of practice and everything he's been dealing with, maybe outside. Maybe it's a confidence or it's in his head kind of thing. But I mean, if you got nowhere else to go, start him. If you got maybe a guy that you're on the fence with, I'd probably bench Iuke.
Yeah, I agree with that. Smoochie Wallace, Mooney or Christian Kirk in my second flex full PPR. This is a good question. Christian Kirk had a fantastic game last week with 2 touchdowns.
Fantastic.
Can he do it again is the question. Daryl Mooney obviously did not because that whole Chicago team did not. I expect a better game from the Chicago defense this week. Sorry, Chicago offense this week facing the Cincinnati defense. So I'm going to lean Mooney on this one because I think other players on the Arizona side are going to get the ball more than Christian Kirk will. I think AJ Green is going to get in there again, even though he wasn't used as much. So,
Micey, Komet or Gesicki PPR? I'm going Komet just based on his usage.
Gesicki killed me last week. Oh my gosh.
Gesicki killed a lot of people last week.
Micey again, Mike Williams or Robbie Anderson? I'm going Mike Williams. Robbie Anderson only had 1 catch, 57 yards for a touchdown. He doesn't get a catch in that game. He gets 0 points. So I like Mike Williams, the 12 targets. I think he'll get peppered again this week. Go Mike Williams.
Gerald Everett or Jonnu Smith, PPR. I like Gerald Everett this week, especially with the fact that Dwayne Eskridge is out. I like him versus I think they're facing the Colts. So give me Gerald Everett over Jonnu this week at least. Especially in PPR formats. I really like Gerald Everett, especially when they're in the red zone.
I think we just did all of Micey's team there for him, so that's good. Yeah. Should be good to go. JP _ lockdown 13, Sutton or AB? I currently have AB starting. I like the AB start. I would stick with AB. I want to see a little more out of Sutton in this Denver offense before I deem Sutton as good as he's supposed to be. I assume an uptick, but I still like AB better.
All right. We answered the pick 3 one already. So G Roman 11, Juju or Julio, half PPR. Give me Julio Jones on this one. Give me Julio Jones over Juju this week.
He got yelled at by his coach. He got called out. I mean,
yeah, I like it. He did have the one drop in the end zone, so they are looking for him in the end zone. Give me Julio over Juju this week.
Okay, Tixie. We got DJ Moore, Corey Davis, or Jalen Waffle. I like it. PPR league. Ooh, that's a very good question. DJ Moore had about 8 catches last week. Corey Davis, I think, was around there as well, if not higher. And Jalen Waddle, they all 3 had really good games last week. I'm leaning Corey Davis just because I think he will get more targets and catches than the other 2 for this week. I think DJ Moore is going to have a little bit less of the catches, and I don't know for sure about Jalen Waddle on his end. I think Corey Davis will lead you in catches. TDs, I'm not sure about, but I think he'll at least lead you in the catches and get you the yardage you need for a PPR league.
Herbert or Hurts from Butfer, and pick 3 from the following non-PPR standard league: Stephon Diggs, Mike Williams, Jamar Chase, Marvin Jones, Russell Gage, Amari Cooper, and James Robinson. I'm leaning Herbert over Hurts just based on the matchup and the fact that I'm expecting a shootout. And if I'm going to pick 3 from the following, it's Stephon Diggs, Mike Williams, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, and Amari Cooper.
So you're taking Jamar Chase over Mike Williams
this week? Yeah.
This week. All right. Yep. I like it. Zach B14, Deontay Johnson or Antonio Brown?
Ooh. I like that question. I like AB in this situation. I mean, but Deontay Johnson, man.
Man. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. So we'll start with that. I like both this week. We've already
put a little mud in the water for the guy, James.
But if we have to pick, I mean, Chris likes Antonio Brown better. Let's go with Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Pick 3. Julio Jones, Marvin Jones Jr., Melvin Gordon, Corey Davis. I'll pick 1, then you could pick 1, and then we'll kind of agree on the third. I'm going to go Marvin Jones Jr.
I'm going to go Corey Davis since I've already picked him as well, and I'm leaning
Julio. Yeah, Julio's the pick. So Julio, Marvin Jones, Corey Davis, and Kenyon Drake or Damian Harris, half PPR. I'm more comfortable starting Damian Harris in this situation over Kenyon Drake. Yeah. Again, I think Kenyon Drake's going to have a great day, but overall, Damian Harris is going to be more involved.
I like it. Yeah, I agree. We got Daryl Henderson or Robert Woods flex.
Full PPR.
Full PPR. I still like my running backs. I think I still go Daryl Henderson in this situation. And if he catches the ball, even better. I mean, I know Robert Woods is there, but the Cooper Kupp situation shows me that he loves Cooper Kupp. And Higbee had a lot of targets too that could take away from Woods. So I think I'm going to lean Daryl Henderson here.
Yeah, not a bad pick. And last but not least, Coach Thax. Need a flex in a PPR league, Gaskin or Nelson Aguilera? I'm going to lean towards Nelson Aguilera in this situation. I think his opportunity for boom plays, especially against the Jets, is going to be greater than that of Myles Gaskin. So give me Nelson Aguilera there. Although I think Gaskin's floor is going to be safer, but if I'm looking for boom, I'm going for the guy that can't catch the babies.
Yeah. So just remember, all those questions came in within yesterday to today. We definitely checked them out. Anything we missed, we're going to go back. We're going to answer for you guys throughout the morning. We got some guys already on there doing that. And now we're going to jump back to our live chat and answer some questions from there. So build over. We got Jamar Chase or Melvin Gordon for flex half-point PPR. I think we could easily say Jamar Chase the way we've been talking about him this week.
Give me Jamar Chase. Zach Bronco, Deontay Johnson or Damien Harris, half PPR. Ooh, I know what you're going to say. I like my running backs, so I'll take this one. Your biased takes against the wide receivers. I'm going to go Deontay Johnson.
I would have said that too. So
in the half PPR, I, for one, I'm a little nervous of James White this week in that Patriots running game. So I'm more comfortable starting Deontay Johnson. Thanks for the question,
we like both, but yes, I think Deontay will have more points.
James, Rojo or Ingram? This man, Rojo, no for this guy. But you sat Ingram. I'd probably sit Rojo.
So hold on. Rojo was already named starter for this week. They came
sure, he was named starter for last week too, but how much did he play? I mean, the name starter doesn't hold much weight for me. I think
I'd rather my chances with Rojo than I would with Ingram, just because I don't. What happens if the other running backs get in there more than Ingram does?
Yeah, well, what happens if the other running backs get in there more than Rojo does? Right?
Do you have anybody else you can start?
The only thing for me where I would start Ronald Jones over Mark Ingram is the fact that Ronald Jones has a better chance for a positive game script where the Bucks could be up a lot early on the Falcons, therefore them wanting to run the ball a bit more. But man, Ingram's 20-something touches last week. It's But
he's not getting 20-something again this week.
I don't know, man. You're probably right, but I don't know what to expect out of that Texans team.
I know it's hard.
They're an anomaly.
Joe
Caramana, Tyler Boyd
or Jalen Reagor, flex spot, half-point PPR. Ooh.
I'll let you handle this one because if he goes wrong, then he's kicking you out, right?
I'm gonna say Tyler Boyd. I think that he's gonna get more chances than Jalen Reagor did. I didn't really like what came out of Jalen Reagor last week from the Philly game, and I think the San Fran D is a little better than the Chicago D. So I'm gonna go with Tyler Boyd.
Fair enough. Thanks for the question, Joe. Marshawn Fairley, who would you start in regular scoring format league? So I'm guessing that's a standard league. Yeah. Mike Williams, Calvin Ridley, or Robert Woods. Man, all great options. If I'm going to pick one based on no PPR, I'm going to go Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I like it. Grant Bow, we got Mike Williams or Devontae Parker, Myles Gaskin, or Mike Davis, PPR. I like Mike Williams, and I like Myles Gaskin.
Yep. Fire him up. Thanks for the question, Grant.
All right. Going back to our other chat. So we had a few different rooms here. There's little chats that we had going with some questions. So we'll see what we have here. Just trying to see the topic. Can you scroll down a little splash?
Cup, Hunt, or Antonio Brown in flex half-point PPR from T. Boffer 33. Did we answer this one already? I think we went Cup here, right?
Yeah, I believe that was one we went Cup with. Okay.
Is Swift playing? Yes, I believe he's playing.
He is. He should be fine. Chris Carson,
Goddard,
DJ Moore, full PPR.
I like Carson in that. I think he's got a better floor than DJ Moore.
Yeah, I do too.
Junior, what's tight end should I start? Tanyan or Austin Hooper? Out of the two, I think I'm starting Tanyan over Hooper.
Yeah, I like that too. Jess Sebro, I think we answered that question already. So yeah, I think we're good. That was in our chat there. So guys, we've been with you guys for a little over an hour now. It's 12:10. Games are starting in about 50 minutes. We tried to answer everyone's question as best we can. We're going to continue to answer your questions as they come in on the chat or anywhere else that we can see them from. Definitely look us up on the U Stadium app. Let us know at the option. We'll definitely answer any questions that we can find there. We do get people that do it. And thank you guys for all tuning in. Again, make sure that you subscribe and like the channel because that definitely makes us come back and bring you guys more content. And good luck in week 2. Hope you guys win your weeks.
Go Saints.